And with me, I have Al Magid with me. He's been a professor, right, of political science?
Yes,
Is that it?
yes.
So what brought political science and reading together?
Nothing. I come to this really in my role as a citizen, a very interested citizen, who has strong commitments to volunteerism and civic engagement. Most immediately, I got involved with this about a year ago. I saw some of the statistics on, how shall I put it, inadequate reading performance in the Sch'dy School District, schools from K right up to 12. I've seen a lot of the data over many years across the region, the country, and the state, and they reflect the same problems. And I thought that I could make a contribution, so I established the so-called Reading is Fun program.
And reading is fun.
Absolutely.
I love to read.
I myself got on the reading track at 3.5 years old, and I'm 76 now, and I don't intend ever to get off the reading track as long as I'm able to do so. The program focuses on 4-year-olds in the city of Schenectady. That is in that transition year into kindergarten. I view the program as the pathway to the gateway over that year to kindergarten. And what we hope to do with a large core of volunteers, train parents in how to teach reading skills to their children, reading readiness skills.
It starts out with reading stories to your kids.
Well, we're less concerned.
And then they see the books.
Something even more basic than reading. This is what it's about and why I brought the sign.
Okay.
We want to teach letters, letter sounds, and letter combinations to 4-year-olds.
So you believe in phonics?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Right.
We got away from that for a while.
No, we've got to get back to it. Unless they have that foundation, all the data, it's compelling. Unless they have that foundation, they're off on a very, very bad footing into kindergarten and beyond, and it extends all their lives, okay? This is really foundational. So what we want to do in the first instance is train. We're going to have trained volunteers. They'll be taught by personnel in the school district how to teach reading readiness skills. We hope that they will then in turn teach that to their 4-year-olds. If they cannot or will not do it for whatever reason, we're not being judgmental, we want our trained volunteers to work directly with the 4-year-olds to teach them those skills. So we're partnering with the district. We are heavily, heavily involved with the district, heavily involved with the second partner, the Schenectady School District Education Foundation. And I'm in the process now of seeing if we can work out a partnership as well with the Schenectady County Public Library.
The library certainly is going to be on your team.
It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, because they encourage people to read, of course, with their, the book reviews and everything else that goes
And our
with
assumption is once they can build the foundation of skills, that will open the world of reading to them. So our principal concern in the program is not to read to them, but to provide them with the skills they will need to read. And as the name of the program indicates, the Reading is Fun program, the key method that we'll be using is play. I have no illusions. I can't take a 4-year-old, say, sit down and listen to Professor Magid as I would have lectured to an 18 or 20-year-old,
right.
Okay? So we're going to use the method of play very creatively to instill in them a reading quality through the learning of letters, letter sounds, and letter combinations. And as well, we hope to instill in them the importance of conversation. Many young children grow up in environments where there is very little interfacing around spoken language. So our play...
we tend to the kids watch TV, they eat in front of the TV. Whereas years ago, you used to sit at the dinner table and you say, how'd your day go? And somebody wasn't there texting their buddy in the next room.
Precisely it. So our volunteers will be heavily engaged, very heavily engaged through play, building these skills, and along with that, conversational skills and vocabulary.
But you're working with the caregivers and with the parents.
In the first instance, we want the mommies and daddies and grandmas and other principal caregivers to take on that responsibility. If they cannot do it or will not do it for whatever reasons, we're not, they're too busy, they're too stressed out. We're saying, give us the children.
What about the language? I mean, you have some parents that speak another language.
Okay.
Their kids are going to school. They're learning English, which is great, that they are. But sometimes the parents aren't at the same speed as the kids in learning the language. Can they help their children?
Yes, they can.
And how do they do that?
Firstly, we will have volunteers. We will try very hard to get volunteers who are bilingual and multilingual. So, for example, we have a modest-sized and growing Spanish-speaking population, okay? We would, if that child up to 4 years old is growing up in a home where Spanish is the principal language, okay, we would want to get a volunteer or a set of volunteers who can use Spanish to get at the teaching of English. So yes, we're prepared to be very fluid and very adaptable to the real needs in real time out in the community. And say this is a citywide project. When people ask me, who are we targeting? We're targeting all 65,000 residents to be engaged. We'll be raising money to be self-sustaining. And as well, our target ultimately is every year, forever, all 700 to 900 4-year-olds in the city. We'll start with about a quarter of them, 100 to 200 in the first year, with 50 to 100 volunteers. And then I'd like to build up to as many who are prepared to participate, conceivably as many as 700 to 900.
How do you reach the parents?
We dig widely and deeply.
Because that to me is the, I mean, you're talking 4-year-olds. These kids are not in school yet.
That's right.
Where do you find them? How do you know which parents are working with their kids, which aren't? How do you get to them?
We're going to be looking for volunteers who are members of the community who can network with those people. Department of Social Services, food pantries. In other words,
the word will get out.
I often say to people, this is a relatively small county with a relatively small population. You can run, but you can't hide. If you're there and you have a 4-year-old, we will have your 4-year-old. We will access you and try to engage you, to teach the importance of being engaged. It is of overriding. In our kind of society, unless that kid can get on the reading track very, very early, his or her prospects are not very good going through life.
You bring up something interesting because we've heard the illiteracy rate in the United States is lower than a vast majority of countries. So you may have parents who are illiterate.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. My wife taught for 25 years down to 1997, from 72 to 97 successively in Steinmetz and Mount Pleasant Middle School, and so loved every year and every moment of it. And indeed, she had kids who dropped out at 14, 15.
So they're not going to be.
You know, many of those young men, and now not so young men, might benefit from a program like this.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. You may be helping them.
Precisely it. We have major, major problems in this country.
And people who can't read know how to hide it.
Well, they know how to hide it, but they're cut off from a wonderful, rich world. You know, my wife and I travel a lot. I spend a lot of time abroad doing research and consulting and teaching. But indeed, you can bring the world to you if you can't go out to the world. But you can only do it really richly through the written word.
Yeah.
Whether that written word be on television, you know, some other technical vehicle, or the book. It is the written word.
The written word.
Without the written word, we are literally cut off from the world.
I want to thank my mother, who is no longer with us, for teaching me to read at a very early age.
As did my mother.
And we talked about this before the show. I mean, I had books. I mean, we had books in the house. We had a lot of books. But we went to the library every single week and got books out.
Well, we did too, every Saturday morning, and I remember wonderfully, it goes back now almost 70 years, my mother saying, you know, what we really need to sustain ourselves is oxygen, carbon dioxide, and books.
Books. I'm with you. We're going to have you on again. We're going to talk more about this project. And I applaud you for what you're doing because it's right up to my heart here.